Good evening. I would like to thank the organizers for having invited me to add my voice to the ones demanding truth and justice. I am truly honored. Daphne Caruana Galizia, what a woman. I knew Daphne socially in my teens and 20s. However, I got to know Daphne well through her writings, and my admiration for her grew and grew. The news of her assassination in October 17 sent shockwaves throughout my body, like it did to everyone else, and left me in a state of horror and disbelief. It made me more determined to actively take a stand. And on another level, it also encouraged me to reflect on how we ever allowed something like this to happen. I would like to start with an extract from a letter by Alfred Delp that immediately made me think of Daphne when I read it. When he wrote it, Delp, a German Jesuit, was in prison awaiting execution. Delp was a member of the resistance in Nazi Germany and was falsely implicated in the failed plot to overthrow Hitler. This is the extract. One thing is becoming gradually clear. I must surrender myself completely. This is seed time, not harvest. God sows the seed, and sometime or other he will do the reaping. The one thing I must do is to make sure the seed falls on fertile ground. And I must arm myself against the pain and depression that sometimes almost defeat me. May others, at some future time, find it possible to have a better and happier life because we died in this hour of trial. For Delp, his calling came from the God he believed in. Yet we all have a human calling, whether we believe in a God or not. And for some, it takes a lot of courage to follow. Daphne was one of those people. With the constant threats and attacks, she too must have felt fear and despair. And yet she kept true to her calling, to unearth corruption and expose it. One value that I strongly uphold in my life is this. If I have been given intelligence, talents, and the privilege of an education, I must use them to make the world a better place. Daphne did all this and more. Her fast mind joined the dots and unearthed corruption. Her fearlessness allowed others to trust her with information, and her ability to simplify the most tangled web of intricacies in her writing, a writing that was economical, to the point, and easy to read, gave her readers a clear, coherent picture of what was going on. Daphne was assassinated because she accepted the seed that was sown in her and dropped it on fertile ground. This was the courage of Daphne. So, my friends, how are we going to do justice to Daphne's memory and to her tireless investigation and writing, the price of which she paid with her life? Occupy Justice and Republica are taking a public stand and giving us a structure in which we can voice our outrage and our demands for truth and justice. For this, I applaud them. But what about you and me? We come to the vigils and the protests and support with our presence. But in what way do we live what we profess to believe? So today, I want to take a step further and invite us to some serious self-examination. Yes, me and you and me. In what way might we be contributing to an environment in which a journalist is assassinated? It is easy to point a finger at the guys out there who are corrupt, ruthless, and evil. And yes, there are guys, and girls for that matter, out there who are corrupt, ruthless, and evil. And they are the result of a society where people are becoming increasingly disconnected from each other and from nature, self-serving and greedy for wealth and power. So these are some questions that I constantly ask myself, and I invite you to ask yourselves too. How am I concretely living my obligation towards truth and justice in my everyday life? And I mean everyday life, not just vigils and protests. For example, what is my relationship with greed and power in my own interactions? Two factors that seem to contribute greatly to corruption. I examine what motivates my behavior. Is it what suits me at all costs? Or do I truly strive to have a genuine connection with the other and with nature? In what way do I educate myself regarding growing my ethical standards? And how do I commit myself to living those same ethical standards in everything I do? Am I able to go beyond partisan politics and question and challenge people in positions of authority and power, whatever the color? Or is it too much of a bother? I examine my fears and the way I allow them to get in the way from my taking a stand against corruption. How, because of my fears, I rationalize not being an active presence in the quest for truth and justice, in my country, in the world. I think of my discussions with others, in person or on social media, and ask if in my interactions I remain respectful to myself and to the other. Am I able to listen and be informed, and maybe also enriched by different perspectives? Me and you and me. We need to never stop questioning the motivation behind our actions and try to answer the questions with sincerity, challenging ourselves to reach new understanding and awareness. We need to have discussions among ourselves regarding ethics, generating even more questions. We need to maintain a sense of outrage at injustice and corruption. Very importantly, we need to truly connect. That for me is the key word. We need to connect with each other on a level of honesty, sincerity, and integrity, because it is only in that way that we can hold a united front against corruption and demand a society for ourselves and our children where truth and justice govern, to have, in Alfred Delp's words, a better and happier life. We owe this to Daphne. Thank you.